My name is Rebecca Whatley. I am 41 years old and I am about to share my story. My story, guys, consists of my childhood, which included sexual abuse. Growing up with me and my family, it was a lot of us. In the home, it was my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, cousins, me, my mom, my dad, my brother. I would say 5 years old is where I can clearly remember when the abuse started. 5 years old. I remember that first night. It was a late night. So we slept in the room with my grandparents. And I remember that night when the individual walked in the room. I was not in a deep sleep, but my eyes were closed. And I remember the lights turned on. I remember the covers being pulled down, and I remember this individual begin to touch me. I did not open my eyes, and I can remember this individual begin to touch me on top of my pants and then under my pants. Everybody was asleep. It was no break-in. This was someone who lived in the house at the time as well. So this was a family member that lived in the home as well. And this was the beginning of something that continued for a while and grew to other levels. I've tried my best to answer that, to figure that out. In my heart, real talk and being honest, I know that other individuals were aware of someone coming in that room, turning the light on, and the light being on for a period of time, then turning the light off and leaving. I think that in my heart, I feel my grandmother was aware that something was going on with her granddaughter and this individual. She knew my dad and that my dad does not play. Sometimes I feel as though she was doing that so that my dad wouldn't lose it over the situation. I believe that my grandma was aware. On that first encounter, I just remember me acting as if I am asleep. I was still. I did not move. I was in this state, in just this state of stillness. I didn't understand what was going on. Believe me, I most definitely learned what was going on. And it became a big part of my life. It became a big part of my childhood as I was exposed more to what was going on. The next morning after that first encounter, there were no questions. The only thing I knew was to be quiet. I did not understand. And this silence that I kept, that the abuser kept, it kept the thing going. It did not stop. It wasn't a one-time show. I can't even count how many times and how the abuse intensified. So me being quiet, not speaking at that moment. I did speak, but not then, because I didn't know how to put it into words. But once I learned how to explain it, I did speak it, but it was a while. It continued the same way for a long time. Him walking in the room at night, turning on the light, walking over to me, fondling with me. That was something that happened so much weekly, like maybe 3 times a week. And then it began to change from the room to where he would eventually start taking me to locations, to places, deserted places, and would actually, that's when it moved from touching to actually trying to, and it being that situation. I'm gonna be honest, it was a world that was created where this is our secret. It became a thing where this is our secret. No one knows about this. No one can know about this. This is our secret place. And I can remember times when my family would be looking for me, and he would have me in this abandoned place, and they would be calling for me, and he would tell me to go the opposite way and walk a long way home. And I had to tell them I was somewhere at the store. I had to make up a lie, and I'll never forget it. I can remember it was at this one location close to a store. There was an abandoned shed, so to speak, where he would go there and would lay me down there and would take off my clothes and touch my body and try to me on multiple times, but I can remember after this happening so many times, I was in a room with my mom and I said, Mom, what is this stuff that comes out of a guy's, I don't know how I said it per word, but I can remember asking my mom, what is the stuff that comes out of a boy's pee-pee? Because I was like 5 or 6 at that time. I was like, Mom, what is that white stuff that comes out of a boy's pee-pee? And my mom asked me, what did you say? And I asked her again, and that was explosive in that home. It was explosive. How would I know anything about that? And then I remember my dad, it was a big uproar. My dad was trying to hurt him, and we moved. There was such a level of manipulation there. He had so manipulated me as a child, 5, 6 years, 7 years old. It was like it was our secret relationship, this secret thing that was going on. It wasn't, at first, it was like, what's going on? Oh my God. But it grew to something. This is our world. No one can know. This is our special thing. And I was in this disgusting cycle of abuse. And my mindset as a child changed forever. It was no longer innocence. It was no longer just being just a pure child. Now there were thoughts of and wanted to be pleasured. That became a habit for me. Absolutely, it was a love and hate. Looking back at it now, it's even more sickening for real for me to talk about it, but it's okay. But yes, it was a love and hate where my mindset, like I would literally, not the sex, but the attention of the sex. He made me feel as though I had control. He made me feel as though, had a part of it. And I think that was the most disturbing part as a child, to be pushed into this mindset. It became addicting. It grew with me. When I say mind control, I mean the part of, I can remember there were instances where it would just be me and him, and he would make me feel as though I had control of what was going on. And that also led in, this is your fault as well. This, after a while, it would turn to, this was you. This was you, even though you are like 14, 15 years older than me. This person knew manipulation and knew how to push on me, that I think he absolutely knew I needed attention. I needed love. And he gave me something and made me feel at that age powerful, that we had something that never was. It was a lie. It was deception. It wasn't real. And it was manipulation. After that was over, I suffered with the absence of that behavior. And I began to crave being satisfying myself, different types of ways. My appetite never left after that abuse, that appetite, that perversion. It was still there. When I asked my mom that question that day, she knew. Everyone knew. Everyone knew that day. Everyone in that house knew something was going on. And once it came out, this was going on, I was the liar. Not by my parents, but I was told that I was lying, and it was the worst rejection I've ever experienced. It was the first time in my life where I felt, and I believed at that time, that I wasn't worthy of a, are you okay? How are you? What do you need? What do you, I was never asked that. It was so many people that were mad at me, then had compassion for me because someone was exposed. Not me being exposed, but that someone else was exposed for what they were doing. But what about me? It was so confusing for me. I was angry. I was going through withdrawals, guys, literally going through withdrawals from this behavior I had been in for that amount of time. it was hard for me, and I had to find ways to try and fill the void that I felt, because I felt a void, and I felt as though needs wasn't being met because my body had become accustomed to that lifestyle. We most definitely moved out of that situation. Me and my family, we did move out of that situation, but moving away from it did not heal my soul. It did not. I still was not cared for inwardly. I was not cared for. So when we left, again, there was a void, there was a hole in me, and that I had to deal with it. And I had to deal with it alone. I had to deal with it all alone because I wasn't allowed to tell my story. No one asked, wait, what really did happen? Where did he take you? What did he do? What did you encounter? I didn't get that. So I had to hold it in and deal with it. And I did, and I dealt with it. I actually did confide in one of my cousins. At the time, I confided in her, and I told her what I had experienced with this family member, and she cried, she cried, she cried, she cried, she cried, and she held that secret for as long as she could. But that was one of the people that I could talk to about how I felt. My cousin, she was right there, and that was very special, and still is special to me to this day that I had her. Thank you, girl. Thank you. Yes. My abuser stole my virginity, stole my innocence, stole my worth, stole my soul without my permission. Did not give me the chance to blossom and to bloom how a child should. But today I'm learning to blossom and bloom. Relationships for me growing up were one-sided. I was very, very closed. I did not give of myself. I did not give nothing of myself. Actually, they could give. I wanted to know everything about them. I wanted to know what they were going through, what they were facing. But when they asked of me, how are you? What do you need? I'm like, nothing. I'm good. I'm okay. I was closed. I was cold. Even though I could have a conversation, I could laugh, I could smile, I still would not give nothing of myself. Nothing of myself. And I did not, when they would ask me what's wrong, why aren't you giving? I didn't understand what they were saying. I did not know that I had put up this wall to block any emotional attachment, any type of getting close to my heart. It was closed off. And so my relationships were one-sided. If they lasted, because if they did last long, it was because we had a good friendship. We had a friendship, but not intimacy. We could laugh, but there was no emotional connection there. So if it did last, it was because of friendship. And that's being honest, guys. I was cold. I did not want to give of me, and I was not going to let nobody take it either. So I was very selfish with myself. I was selfish, and I'll say that. I felt like that's how, I didn't have no other choice, so I was cold. I never went back to my abuser and asked why. I never went back to them and questioned anything. But you remember my cousin, who I told everything to, she would, if an argument was breaking out at the family's house, this is up in age, guys. This is where we now are adults. And an argument broke out. My cousin would call him out, tell him he's a pedophile in front of everybody. And she said what I couldn't say, and I couldn't do it, but she would say it in front of everyone. But I myself, no, I never confronted, never asked why. I talk about it openly. It's easy to talk about it with people who don't know you, but with those who know you, they don't know that secret, because it's still a lock on it. Even though the close family knows, but everyone else don't know. So it's still like a level of protection that's there. So, but yes, I talk about this. This is my story. And this is a big step to be here today to tell the world even more about me. Thank you for this. I would say, Beck, you are so tough. You are so tough. You are so brave. You are so beautiful. You are so strong. You are not a mistake. You are not what you are in. You're going to get through this. You are going to get through it. And it does get better. It does get better. You actually heal, girl. You actually put the work in, girl. I'm proud of you. As an adult dealing with childhood trauma, I am 41 years old now. And I am just, these last couple of years is where I learned how to live without it, where I learned how to live free and know that I can now live again. I can smile, I can love. But before putting in the work, I just was so passive. I was so passive, and I would allow people to take advantage of me in any way possible. I was a yes person. I did not know how to say no. I did not know how to establish boundaries. I was constantly used up because I didn't know how to protect myself. I was still that little girl in an adult body. I was still the little girl, a grown, an adult woman with a little girl mentality trying to live this life. And I was not strong. I was afraid to say no. It put me in a lot of unnecessary trauma, a lot of unnecessary situations because I did not stand up for me, because I did not know my worth. I did not know how precious and powerful and phenomenal I am. I didn't know my worth. So when you don't know your worth and someone else knows that you don't know your worth, they'll take advantage of you even more. They will run it. They will stomp you. So I experienced a lot of unnecessary trauma because I didn't know my worth. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel valuable. I would say one of the most powerful things that helped me to really change my life was when I realized that that was then, this is now. Guys, I realized that I was living there. I was constantly living there. Something that happened when I was a little girl, I did not leave that place. As I grew into teenage, young adult, I still was living there. So when I realized that I'm no longer there and I am here, I embraced and I cried once I realized that I had not lived my life. I realized that I had not lived my life since the age of 5. And as an adult, I had to take responsibility for me, for my actions, for where I am mentally. I had to take responsibility. And guys, that's okay for you to take responsibility for how you feel, for where you are in your life. So I started to look within. I started to see, hey, Rebecca, you need help. You're not okay. And it's okay that you're not okay. But we're going to get there, and you're going to have to put in the work, and you're going to have to accept what did happen. Okay, that happened to me. That did happen. I did experience that, but I don't got to live there, and I don't have to be a victim of that. I do not have to be a victim of that. And once I realized I don't have to be a victim and feel sorry for myself, but that I can turn that into power, that into restoration, that into healing. And I learned how to fight. I learned how to fight for me. I learned how to say no. I established boundaries. I started speaking positive affirmations over my life, in my life. I started speaking positive, and not only speaking it, but believing that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, that I am beautiful, that I am forgiven, that I am not that I am powerful. I put it on. I ain't just said, I put on that garment and I rocked it. And I chose to forgive because forgiveness didn't have nothing to do with the person. It had to do with me. I made a decision to forgive for me so that I can move forward with my life. Forgiveness is so powerful when you think about why. And because I wanted to live, love, and be free, I forgave. And then that's none of my business anymore. I learned how to live, Shannon. And those triggers, I still have those triggers. I remember his scent. I remember his hands. I remember things about him. Those things still come to my mind. They'll come and they'll shoot fast through my mind, and I know where to put it. Instead of entertaining it and dwelling on it and letting it a whole nother build a whole nother house and a garden and a fence. No, I learned how to immediately no, you will not live. I will not entertain you because I'm no longer there. So I learned how to, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not saying thoughts are going to stop coming, that is not going to never like come through your mind. Yes, you're human. It happened to you. I just learned how to deal with it accordingly, not to entertain it, not to dwell on it. And when it comes up and try to intimidate me, I knock that giant down. Giants do fall. No, ma'am, they do not define who you are. You define who you are.